All right. So my main reason to why I think Crocodile beats Enel is similar to how it was explained that Luffy could not be damaged by Enel's electricity attacks because rubber is an insulator. Crocodile who can turn his body into sand on reflex would also be immune to Enel's attacks. Now you might say that Enel can simply melt Crocodile himself into glass. And I would argue that he would not, given the fact that Luffy, who's made of rubber, did not melt by being hit by Enel's attacks, even though rubber melts at a much lower temperature than sand. And you might also say that regardless, Crocodile would still melt, given how Enel instantly melted a giant piece of gold. And I would agree with you, but again, Enel's lightning attacks had absolutely no effect on Luffy, and I cannot just ignore that fact. The only deduction that I could make out of that interaction is that Enel can melt insulators to electricity if those insulators are not produced by devil fruit powers, or at least that's what I concluded from that fight. Anyways, given by how I believe that Enel's electricity would have no effect on Crocodile's sand, using his mastery over his devil fruit, Crocodile would be able to restrain, if not kill Enel using his sand that he produces. And he could achieve that using a variety of different moves. He could generate like blades to cut Enel down. He could dehydrate Enel simply by touching him, or in some cases from a distance, proven by how he dehydrated the impel down guards. Now, you could also say that Enel also has an advantage over Crocodile because he has access to observation haki. And in most cases, that would be true, but not in this particular case, given by how Crocodile is a Logia and can produce sand that could cover a large enough area to where Enel's observation haki dodging abilities would not really matter. And one last thing. In your argument, you might say that Enel might use an attack to take out Crocodile before Crocodile even has time to turn his body into sand, because that was explained that Logia users have to turn their bodies into their element to avoid attacks. Simply because Enel is that fast, I would also like to argue that it was stated that Crocodile has trained his devil fruit to such an extent that he can turn his body into sand completely on reflex, meaning the moment he senses that an enemy would initiate an attack against him, he would turn his body into sand. There are many instances of this happening, the most prominent example being when Doflamingo cut off Crocodile's head while he was not on his guard and was distracted. And there are many other examples of Crocodile being shot and then reflexively turning to sand. So anyways, yeah, I'm done.
Okay. All set. You can begin one.
That's awkward. He has like 5 minutes of fucking opening statements. I have one sentence.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think Enel defeats Crocodile due to his sheer advantage of his devil fruit and his observation haki. What I'm saying is like, his devil fruit allows him to amplify his mantra haki, whatever. Plus, the temperature of his devil fruit is more than enough to melt the sand that the Crocodile throws at him. And if you put your attention to the link that I put in the chat, that's like all of the information and temperature that I have. You may argue that his lightning would not melt or would not turn him into glass, but the thing is, turning sand into glass is not the only thing that lightning can do. There is something called, if I can get to it, this link below here. It's called petrified sand. It's when lightning strikes sand, it turns sand into a hollow kind of rock structure. So that's what I think would happen to Crocodile when he gets hit by Enel's lightning. Plus, the temperature of lightning. Well, if you've seen like Crocodile fight, he fought against Ace and what's his face, Magma guy, Magma asshole.
Akainu.
Yeah, Akainu. Their temperature, the temperature of magma, and the temperature of fire are not enough to turn sand into glass. But the thing is, the temperature of lightning, it's more than enough to turn sand into glass. You may argue that Luffy, he didn't melt because or his rubber, whatever the fuck. Rubber has a very low temperature or melting point compared to sand, glass. Yeah, I don't really have an argument against that. I didn't really care for that. I don't know. But I mean, we're not talking about Luffy, so suck a dick. Armor. Plot armor, okay? Plot armor. That's my excuse. It's plot armor. That's why Luffy didn't get melted.
So, is that your opening?
Sure. Whatever.
Okay, let me stop that. Reset.
Mm-hmm.
This is now Ziad, your rebuttal.
Mhm.
You have 3 minutes.
Oh, sorry.
All right. So you made 2 points. You said his mantra is amplified by his devil fruit, and I would like to point out that it is amplified, but not in the way that you think. It was amplified by him using electromagnetic waves to hear what other people are saying in the islands. Doesn't help him in combat, really. And then you went on to explain that there are other effects that lightning has over sand when it makes contact with it, called petrified sand, correct? And right now you are using logic when I already explained that Luffy, who should have melted by Enel's attacks, since rubber has a very low melting point, as you have said yourself. Logic does not really apply here, but a rule was given to us by Oda, is that a devil fruit user whose body is an insulator to electricity cannot be damaged by Enel's electricity attacks. You can't use that type of logic that lightning would have an additional effect on sand, when Oda already laid down the fact that Luffy, who should have melted because he is rubber, did not melt. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, stop. Reset. Give me 10 seconds.
What is he resetting?
Okay, you're good to go. One.
Yo.
You have 3 minutes.
Oh, shit. Well, I really wasn't paying. I didn't really hear what Ziad said in the beginning. Said something
That's your
about, like...
problem.
Yeah, it's my problem. He said something about, I don't know what he said. Shit.
Do I repeat, Shisui?
Yeah, since you had 3 minutes and you only took 1 minute and 40 seconds, so yeah.
I can repeat?
You can repeat.
Okay, as I said before, you explained that his mantra is amplified by Stellar Fruit, and I said that his mantra is amplified in a different way than what you think. It's amplified by Enel using electromagnetic waves.
I mean, in your not your rebuttal, your opening.
That was.
Oh no, I'm
Wait,
afraid. I'm afraid you
can't do
can't.
that.
You can't do that. Yeah.
That's way too far.
Your defense response is to his rebuttal. So,
okay.
to his rebuttal. You have 3 minutes and go.
So you're saying that his what's it called? His mantra. His mantra would have no effect on the way he fights. Like when he was against Luffy, he used his mantra to dodge his attacks, right? So amplifying that would not help him in any way. Also, what else did you say in your rebuttal? Melting point. Yeah. Okay, so the melting point doesn't matter then. You're saying conductors don't have any, or conductors won't do anything because of what Oda said, right? So I'm going to argue that Enel's speed will allow him to defeat Crocodile. Enel is the speed of, from what I have seen, he's the speed of lightning. He can teleport wherever. He can strike. He can use his attack from wherever. So I do not believe that Crocodile would be able to touch him. Just simply the speed of lightning would allow him to defeat Crocodile alone. Using his lightning from a far away distance, he can strike him down from anywhere. I don't know. What else?
So do I go?
No, hold on.
I don't know. I'm just making shit up while I go.
Oh, okay.
Oh, also, I do not believe Crocodile would be able to dodge these things because it hasn't been shown anywhere that he has hockey, actually shown. The only person between the two who has been confirmed that has hockey is Enel with his mantra. What else is there? Lightning. Lightning is not a liquid. He could Crocodile. He cannot absorb the liquid or the what was it? He can't absorb the moisture in Enel because lightning is not a liquid. It is a plasma. What else? Shit, what else did he say?
So
I don't know. You can go.
All right, let me stop. Set. This is your closing, Ziad? You have 2 minutes.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Closing already.
Okay. First of all, you said that Enel was dodging Luffy's attacks, and that doesn't really help your point that his mantra was amplified, because that was just regular observation haki. It didn't really help him that he can use electromagnetic waves in his combat against Luffy. And you also said that Crocodile would not be able to hit Enel because he's just too fast. I would like to point out that Luffy beat him, and Enel was faster than him. And I would also argue that it would be easier for Crocodile to hit Enel because he attacks. He's a Logia. He can produce his element and control it however he likes. He can restrain Enel and kill Enel, as I said in my opening statement. And you said that he can't avoid Enel's attacks, as you said before. He can. I said in my opening statement that he can reflexively turn into sand, so he can avoid Enel's attacks. And you said that he can't dehydrate Enel. I would like to also point out that Luffy beat Enel because he's an insulator, and when he made contact with Enel, he bloodied Enel like any other human would have been if they were hit by Luffy's attacks. That just proves that if Crocodile can touch Enel, he can affect him with his devil fruit like any other person would have if Crocodile has dehydrated them. So yes.
Okay. So. Stop. Reset. You have 2 minutes to go.
You made the point that Crocodile would be able to touch Enel and suck the moisture out of him. But you also made the point that Crocodile can turn into sand instinctively. I would also like to make the point that Enel can turn into lightning instinctively. You cannot really suck the moisture out of a Logia if he's turned into the material that his devil fruit is. You also, what else did you make a point of? Bad memory. What else did you make the point of?
Right. Nick, you can start whenever you want.
All right. So, Luffy versus Katakuri was a disappointing fight. And the problems that the fight has stem from a few issues. The over-the-top length of the fight in chapters and its unsatisfying conclusion. The fight was kind of unsatisfying by necessity, as the whole arc was it was in order to show just how outclassed Luffy was by an emperor, but that doesn't make it not disappointing. Even after all his training, by the beginning of the fight, he was still outclassed by Katakuri. There were good moments in the fight, obviously, but overall, it was almost typical of the fights Luffy has, in that Luffy is being beaten, he powers up mid-fight, but most of all, it misses the definitive win of Luffy. I understand that definitive win would have made no sense in the context of the story, as Katakuri was just so overwhelmingly strong at the beginning of the fight, but that doesn't make it not disappointing. The main point that I believe can't be argued against is that the fight and the arc as a whole was disappointing by necessity, and that's the way it was written for a satisfying impact further down in the story. But that satisfying impact didn't come now. It makes it excusable as a narrative arc, but it served its purpose of being unsatisfying. There was no definitive victor, and what really shows that is people still argue after Luffy supposedly won who is actually stronger. And on top of that whole thing, what makes it truly beyond that unsatisfying is that it was just so long. The fight started in chapter 880, and I believe it ended around 8 No, around 898 to 900. That's almost 20 chapters. That is a very long time, especially week to week. If the fight had just been shorter, it could have served its purpose a little bit better, and wouldn't have left such a bad taste in the mouths of the readers that it has. But even beyond that length argument, it's still just unsatisfying the way Katakuri supposedly lost. It wasn't really about the ride up to there, because the fight just ended in such an inconclusive way. And that's my statement.
Stop, reset. Opio, you're set to go.
All right. I can go?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to argue that the Luffy versus Katakuri fight was not was a great fight, and I'll explain why. It was satisfying. It was a fight that practically progressed Luffy's power growth in a very realistic way, as shown when he started training to get future sight, as we know, and it progressed throughout the fight. It progressed Katakuri's character, and as most people know, most people actually enjoy Katakuri as a character, and through this fight, we found out that was going on. The love for Katakuri. And I'd like to also say that not even in the story sense, the fight it makes sense that Luffy the most logical one was that Luffy won, but Katakuri lost. And I'd like to say that even if we're gonna take off the story sense, even in the panel for panel battle, the choreography was just beautiful. Like, you saw the fluidity of the fight. It was just, you could see the movement of Katakuri attacks. Like, even for an example would be when Katakuri got Luffy inside his mochi and started swinging his mochi around. That showed Oda made the fluidity of his attacks quite nicely, and yeah.
That's it, Opio?
Yes.
Okay, stop, reset. Nick, you can counter with your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, so you said that the fight progressed Luffy's power growth in a reasonable and realistic way. But the thing is, he kind of got this huge jump in power that wasn't really foreshadowed anywhere. Really, the only reason that we can really see that he gets that power is because he was fighting somebody with that power. Their powers were just so similar that Luffy couldn't not get that. And it doesn't really add anything in the way of the fight, because while it progresses his strength, he has so little control over it that he doesn't really use it mid-fight. And you say that it's because of the fight that people like Katakuri's character. And yeah, that fight is where Katakuri's character was really shown and got to shine. But the thing is that Katakuri's character is indicative of Katakuri himself. It's not really the crux of the fight. It's an important part, yes, but it's not what makes the fight satisfying or unsatisfying. And you talked about the choreography and fluidity, and this is the only point that you made where I really, really disagree. It really shows when, at the end of the fight, somebody had to go and redraw it just so people could understand what actually happened. And as it was going through the fight, it was kind of just such a cluster of cluttered over information that it was really hard to tell where anybody was and where they were in relation to each other. And in fact, even though I absolutely despise the anime, I have to watch that fight in the anime just because I don't understand the choreography and what happened in it. Like, even rereading the chapters, it's just hard to understand. Alright, there's my
Okay.
points.
Stop, reset. Opio, you have 3 minutes, and you can go. Opio?
Okay. I can go.
Yeah.
Well, you said that you ended up saying that the fight felt long in a week-to-week basis. Like, that's just us as readers. Like, I reread I reread the entirety of Whole Cake, and I can say definitively that the fight just, if you read the fight panel to not panel chapter to chapter constantly on one try, the fight just kind of doesn't feel like dragged. It does feel dragged out, but it doesn't feel as dragged out as most people might interpret it to be. As it kind of just the reason that it was that way, it makes sense considering that a big premise of this arc was that the time was the time factor, and it was forced. It was pretty much forced to be that way, since it kind of had to go flipping back and forth to the Katakuri fight and the Nami things and the other characters, and you said that the loss didn't make sense. That it wasn't foreshadowed that Luffy would win that fight, even though it was clearly foreshadowed that Luffy was growing, had to become considerably stronger if he wanted to fight Kaido in the next arc, as soon that he was going to go to Wano. It wouldn't make sense if it wasn't foreshadowed. Then it wouldn't make any sense for him to even be going up to Kaido in the first place to fight somebody even stronger. And yeah.
Okay. Nick, this is your closing. You have 2 minutes.
All right. So you said that the fight was long week by week. You agreed to that. But you said that that's just reader perception. But the thing is, reader perception is everything. That's what this whole argument is about. How do the readers perceive the fight? And the readers perceived it as longer than it should have been. You admitted to that. That's the fact. And you said that I talked about foreshadowing Luffy's win. I didn't say anything about that. Everybody obviously knew Luffy was going to win. The part that I said wasn't really foreshadowed or hinted at before, especially before they actually started fighting, was the future sight. And there really was no hinting that Luffy was even an observation specialist. Like, we would have thought that, oh, he might be a conqueror or an armament, but observation was kind of the least likely. The only thing that really brought that around was Rayleigh's mid-fight flashback. And the main problem that I have with the fight is I don't think it should have been that close. I think it should have been close. But the thing is, I do believe that Luffy should have been stronger post-time skip, and that would have made the fight more satisfying above everything else, above the time it takes. If Luffy was just stronger, then then that fight would have been more satisfying. If they were more even from the beginning, that's what it would have taken. There's my statement.
Okay. Reset. Opio, you can go.
All right, you said that that the fight would that it was less satisfying because due to like it not making any sense toward the end. Well, wait, I'm messing up. You said that it didn't make any sense at the end of the fight because dude, I forgot what you said. It didn't make any sense because, dude, I forgot what you said. My bad.
This is your closing, Opio, so try to...
Yeah. Even then in the story, it showed that Luffy, it helped Luffy's power progress throughout the story. And you said that it would have been better for if Luffy, if the fight was more equal to begin with, even though like we didn't even know Luffy's full power to begin with before even the fight, as he kind of just nailed freaking Dofi before they fought in Gear 4. So it was kind of just we didn't really know what his full power was to begin with. And I'd like to say that you said that the choreography was bad. because we didn't know what was going on in the battle. Even though for me it was pretty fluid. It goes punch to punch. Like the one as when Luffy is using Mamba Jamba, it just shows that the punches are going left to right, and you just see Katakuri dodging them very nicely. We even see his leg as it flows in, the power of his Oda expands makes his leg even bigger to show that the power of his leg is even growing throughout the next movement that he's doing, and then that leg punch is going into the next panel to show the panel, which is nice fluidity by Oda, and yeah.
Okay. Stop. Okay, and go.
Okay, so the main reason why Naruto is going to win first and foremost is just because his raw power is far higher than anything Ichigo can put out. The biggest feat that you can really scale Ichigo to like raw power is the meteor feat, which is only really a country-sized meteor, and unless you do some crazy high-end calculation, can you really get it to a moon level destruction? Whereas with Naruto, it's just clear cut. He fought a guy that chopped the moon in half, overpowering the gravitational binding energy, which would put it in the exaton range of destructive capability. Naruto easily dealt with this attack, and thus it scales to him perfectly. And it's also a speed feat because the sword was able to extend the entire diameter of the moon. So that's 12,000 kilometers in anywhere from a second or so. So you could pretty much put Naruto in the tens of thousands of Mach range. So that alone gives him the speed and power to match Ichigo. And all Ichigo has is strength, really, at his disposal. Naruto has far more abilities that he can tap into to outplay him, whether it's his shadow clones or the sensory abilities that he got from the Nine Tails or the Sage Mode powers. He has a variety of elemental powers that he got from absorbing all the Bijus. He has the Truth-Seeking Balls, which can negate your abilities and can automatize your body. It effectively will destroy anything it touches. So if Ichigo tries to come into range of it and he gets hit, it's going to destroy anything, and he'll have no knowledge of that. So effectively, he's going to run right into Naruto's Truth-Seeking Ball, and it's going to kill him. The fact that Naruto has the tactics, the intelligence, and all the X factors on his side, topped off with the strength and the speed, he's got a guaranteed victory here. The only thing Ichigo has, Naruto can match, if not beat it. That's my opening statement.
Okay, reset. Arm, you have 5 minutes, and go.
All right, so I'm just going to go over the stats. I'm not going to try to rebuttal what you said, at least not for now. So, Yuha had been stated many, many, many times that he was going to destroy all the or at least 3 worlds that the characters in the verse live in. Soul Society, Earth, Hueco Mundo, all of them being planet-sized dimensions at the very minimum. And Yuha's not only able to maintain these dimensions in his sleep, but he was also going to merge them, to destroy them and create something new from the ashes of it. And Yuha, despite having this level of power, considered Ichigo with just his hollow powers, not even his Bonclay on top of that, to be very impressive and to be a threat. I'm going to be posting all my scans and debates. Just going to wait for it to load. Yeah. And on top of that, for speed, it had been repeated multiple times within the arc that characters far weaker than Ichigo were capable of dodging rays of light. For instance, Lil Toto, who Ichigo was casually smacking around, was able to dodge the Oswalin, which had been described as a ray of light multiple times, and Shunsui, on his deathbed, was able to dodge attacks from Lille, which are also rays of light, which would put even base Ichigo at around, if not above, the speed of light. And, of course, his hollow powers and his Bankai would exponentially increase his speed 5 to 10 times over, so bare minimum, Ichigo is over 25 times the speed of light at full power. At that level of power and speed, being in the planet plus range easily and being FTL easily, he would be able to one-shot Naruto before he could even do anything. Just gonna post some more scans here. And if a character, no matter what level of hacks a character has, if they can't react to their opponent, if they can barely even see them, that hack isn't gonna matter. So, did my scans go through? Yeah, they did. And in addition to that, in Bleach, as explained during the Ichigo versus Kenpachi battle, you need to have equal or relative strength to your opponent to be able to harm them. Otherwise, your attacks are just going to bounce off them and you'll get hurt. For instance, Ichigo versus Kenpachi here. Ichigo swung his sword at Kenpachi. Kenpachi had his guard down. He was basically giving Ichigo a free shot, and Ichigo got hurt. He couldn't do anything to Kenpachi. So these sort of things would also apply in this versus battle. And because Naruto would be in the moon level, possibly low planetary range, then he wouldn't be able to hurt Ichigo with any of his attacks. Those are my opening statements.
Okay. Good job, both of you guys. All right. So
Okay.
This is your rebuttal.
Okay. Put it simple. That light argument is absolute and utter nonsense. The Seros were described as rays of light, and you'd have to argue that the characters at the start of the series were all faster than light, which is just incredibly inconsistent with every single thing in the entire story. They would have teleported to every single place that they wanted to in milliseconds. Even if you want to say, oh, well, reaction speed, whatever, it doesn't matter. The whole idea that every single thing that's described as a ray of light is the speed of light. No, it needs to be portrayed as a speed feat. You can't just be, oh, it's light based. No, it doesn't work like that. And by that argument, I'm going to start arguing light speed Haku from the start of Naruto. And if you want to go through all the multipliers, I'll make freaking light speed times 10,000 Naruto. Hell, 100,000. If we want to go off that kind of exaggerated wankery, we're just gonna have a ball here because we're just gonna spread nonsense. Okay. To be more realistic, there's a 12,000 Mach speed feat from Ichibei at best. You can use that, and that's it. Everything else is just not true. Naruto's speed feat from the Moon feat is comparable to that, if not exceeding that. So you can forget about the whole light speed stuff because I can do the same. And the whole Yuha Bak with the ability to basically disrupt the balance of the world. He can manipulate. He took over the Soul King's powers. Of course, he's like on the control station where he's basically on a computer and he can pretty much manipulate the world to however he sees fit. It doesn't scale to his slashing or cutting ability, and Ichigo doesn't have the special abilities of those characters, so none of that stuff scales to him whatsoever. It is purely through special abilities that Yuha Bak can do that. Ichigo, at best, is around a moon level if you wank it. If you want to be more realistic, he's a country buster, which is thousands of times below Naruto, millions of times actually below Naruto's feet. So back to what I said before, Naruto has more strength from the Moon feat and has equal to, if not greater speed than Ichigo. And topped off with all his abilities, like the True Seeking Balls, which Ichigo has no knowledge of and would fall right prey into that move. The moment it hits Ichigo, he's dead. It's over. The fight's done the moment that happens. And that's my counter argument.
Okay, reset. And Armed, you're set to go. 3 minutes.
Okay, so you were basically saying that the Bleach cast is not the speed of light because if they would, then that would lead to ridiculous scaling. That is not really a debunk. And for the whole, you would need to prove that, what was it? That it had to be a speed feat? Here's the thing. When Ginjo was explaining how the Fullbringer's abilities worked to Ichigo, he explains that everything has a soul. Literally everything. So why would light be an exception, and why using this that would put even spiritual light at the speed of light? I'm not trying to say that like the early Bleach cast is at those FTL ranges, but considering the amount of consistent evidence there is in the 1,000-Year Blood War of characters dodging multiple rays of light and attacks ascribed to be light, topped with Ginjo's explanation of everything having a soul, which would include light, then that would easily put Ichigo at once again at the speed of light, even in his base. And for the whole Ichibei Mach 12,000 thing, Ichigo scales to being above Ichibei. which would mean that with his hollow amplifier and his Bonclay multiplier, he would still be at like, doing quick math here, over Mach 300,000 just through in-universe multipliers and scaling and that little calc that you put at. And even then, it was described that Ichigo, it was explained in a guidebook that Ichigo, as far back as the Soul Society arc, was around the speed of lightning, which does fit within the in-universe scaling if you use some in-universe multipliers plus some admittedly unquantifiable speed gaps, because Ichigo way back in the Substitute arc was at the speed of sound. And of course, Ichigo, through the astronomical amount of multipliers, would still be at the speed of light. And about the whole Yuha power thing, after absorbing the Soul King, Yuha described this as something along the lines of, so, this is what it's like to have an unimaginable wealth of power, or an overwhelming amount of power, something along those lines. And that would mean that the Soul King was not just some hack's ability that granted him control over the souls that kept the worlds in balance. No, he got a straight-up power boost. And Yuha, through his Ryatsu, was going to destroy the world. Like, towards the end of the manga, massive wells of his Ryatsu was just sprouting out of the planet. So it's very clear that Yuha, even in just his raw Ryatsu and power, is in the planetary ranges. And Ichigo, with just his Bankai, mind you, was able to cut Yuha in half. Just making my scans, and then that'll be the end of that.
Okay. Stop there. Reset. All right. You can go.
You didn't debunk anything I said with the whole Sero light speed. Like I said, Seros were described as light also. So basically you're saying, yes, you are saying Soul Society is faster than light. You're saying that every single thing is then faster than light because every time they shoot those beams, they've been described as light, okay? So yes, you are going to exaggerate scaling. And like I said, if you do that, then the same applies for Naruto. And Naruto, with his first time he tapped into the Nine Tails chakra, not even one tail, reacted to light speed Haku. And I'm going to tell you that Naruto is then 10,000 times the speed of light, okay? Because literally, throughout the whole story, they're far, far, far higher. And that lightning statement said, he moves like lightning. So it doesn't even flat out say, no, he is lightning speed. It says like, okay? So no, you can't do that. You can't scale to that whatsoever. And Ichibei is not fodder compared to Ichigo's speed. What are you talking about? That guy's a top tier. Ichigo doesn't have dozens of multipliers above him, okay? And like I said, that's me going at the best for Bleach. That's me being generous to Bleach, okay? Naruto has all the same things. Like, every single thing that you've said to give a speed feat for Bleach goes to Naruto too. And the Yuha thing, no, that's still his ability, okay? He gained power from the Soul King, but the Soul King was described as a pillar of the world. He literally has the power to disrupt the worlds. He can merge the worlds. He can do anything he wants with those abilities. He is effectively a control station of the world. As much as he gets strength, it is also him being an ability user too, which Ichigo doesn't have and he doesn't scale to. And if you really want to try to push planet level Ichigo, I'm going to push planet level Kaguya and say that Naruto and scale Naruto to him. Every single thing you can say about Bleach, I can scale Naruto up. I can make Naruto a planet buster. I can make Naruto multiple times the speed of light, all the same. The only main difference is that not only can I do everything Ichigo can do with Naruto, but Naruto has far more abilities. Ichigo is just a guy who shoots energy beams and swings a sword, and he can fly. So can Naruto. Naruto has every ability Ichigo has, if not more. No, he does have more. Not if not, he does. And it's just that simple. And like I said, the tactics advantage...
You're running over.
Oh, sorry. Naruto tactics, yeah.
Okay. Armed, you ready to go? 2 minutes.
Are these the final thoughts?
Yes, this is the closing.
Okay. So, you saying that Yuha being the control station for the worlds does not debunk the fact that in the last panels of the manga, his reactor was straight up expanding and shooting out of the world. He was on the cusp of destroying the worlds of the Bleachverse. And Ichigo, once well, actually with his Shikai, although that's very weird, was able to cut Yuha in half. He would need to have relative power to Yuha. It's not just hacks, because it's shown with his raw Ryatsu, he's doing this. And as established in the Genpachi battle, Ichigo would be at the planetary plus ranges, more likely multi-planetary, considering how Yuha is able to keep the balance of multiple worlds in check without them collapsing in on each other. And also, Lightspeed Haku is debunked by the fact that Madara, a god tier of the verse, used, or at least at the time, used the Light Fang, which was described to be at the speed of light. So, concluding statements, Ichigo is easily in the planetary plus to multi-planetary range. Lightspeed Bleach is a lot more consistent.
You guys are good? All right, so Enel, you're up. 5 minutes.
So I think Arlong Park is like the best single story in One Piece. Like, if you're talking arcs, like a single story that has a beginning, middle, and end, I think there's nothing better than Arlong Park, in my opinion. Starting with Arlong, the main villain, which I think is one of the most hateable villains, but in a good way, because he's such a piece of shit. But like, you feel like he's enjoying everything he does, and that's what makes him such a good villain and just fun to watch. Like, I don't think I ever hated a villain so much as Arlong, because like maybe Doflamingo, but the things that he did to Nam are just so unforgivable that you. And his laugh is awesome. And then this is the first arc that has actual threats to the Straw Hats, because every other arc they have been just beating the shit out of everybody with zero problem. And I feel like this is really a turning point for the entire series. Like, ask any fan of One Piece, like when they really started to like the series, and most of them will say Arlong Park. Like, Arlong Park is the arc that shows us what One Piece can be and will be for the future arcs. And also, it had a really for the East Blue Saga, it had the best fights in all of the arcs up to this point. It is the first time that we see the Straw Hats working together with Usopp, Zoro, and Sanji all having cool fights that show their skills. And Luffy versus Arlong was just a great fight. And I love the speech that Luffy gives to Arlong about when Arlong tells him that you can't do anything, and he says what the rest of the crew can do, and then he says he's going to beat him up. That's one of my favorite lines in the whole series. And then Nami's character is also amazing. I always love Nami because of this arc, because her backstory is so tragic, and it's not tragic because something terrible happens to her, like her whole island gets destroyed or something. It's just really tragic in the sense of it being ironic, in a sense, because all of the things Arlong does to her is things that were foreshadowed before with her character. So when they finally happen, it hits you a lot harder. Also, Luffy's character gets very fleshed down here, because we see how far he can go to defend his friends. And even if Nami betrays him, he will always try to, he knows what's up. Like, when Nami's sister comes and wants to tell the crew the story of Nami and what happened to the island, Luffy's like he doesn't care. He knows what he's gonna do. And I love Luffy because of that. He's just a straightforward character, and that's the arc that showed it to me the best. And it's also really epic, and I love the setting. The tropical island is really cool. And the supporting cast, like Sora's friends, the bounty hunters, are really funny. Yeah, okay, those are my points.
Okay. Kuma, you have 5 minutes. You're up. Kuma?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can go.
Okay, sorry for the audio, but Sabaody Archipelago, best arcs in One Piece. First, it gives us the classic adventure of the Straw Hats exploring a new island the Sabaody archipelago, which is over like 70 sections. Secondly, it introduces us to countless new characters who become major players in the story, like the supernovas, the bull, Cammy and her starfish friend, To Rayleigh, who turns out to be the right-hand man of the former pirate king Goldie Roger, along with his wife Shaki, if you don't pronounce the names, as well as the first appearance of the Terabito, the descendants of the creators of the world government, and why people bowed out to them and opposed their force, because if you mess with them, they'll bring down not only an admirable elite of Marine soldiers, as well as the first appearance of Kizaru, the second admiral that we actually get within the series, as along with the first appearance of the world government's weapon, the pacifistas, and even the return of the warlord of Kuma. Thirdly, we actually see the return of Hachi. Along with his story, we actually can see the introduction of racism in One Piece, which Oda really has not even showcased until now within this arc, which actually even puts even more story a step forward from the Arlong Park arc, which why was Arlong the way he was towards humans. As well as there was tons of foreshadowing, even like giving us answers to like the One Piece that actually exists, because there was always question, okay, does the One Piece exist? Is this like something that's just within our hearts? Like, what is this all about? And rarely actually give us more info about it, as well as even telling Nico Robin that you even get her answers in the end. Also, within this arc, we actually don't even see that much of the repetition of Luffy goes on an island, he meets an opposing force, may get beat up a few times, but in the end he'll succeed. But in this arc, we finally see where they are actually coming in contact with an actually opposing force that they just cannot win. They cannot defeat an admiral along with the also a character of the said got the name of the bodyguard to Vegapunk, who's actually using our hockey to even like defeat the beat up freaking Luffy, as well as we actually get the separation of all the straw hats. And that is my opening.
Okay. And now this is your rebuttal. You have 3 minutes.
So I'm not going to throw shit at Sabaody because I know it's an amazing arc and I love it just as much as the next guy. But what Arlong Park has above Sabaody, in my opinion, is the villain. Because even if Kizaru, I don't think Kizaru is that good of a character. Like I'm not personally the biggest fan of Kizaru. I know a lot of people are, but not me personally. Also, Arlong Park felt a lot more concise. Like I agree. I see the chat. I agree that Sabaody does a better job than world building and doing an amazing job at having a twist in the story that was very necessary at that point. Before the story got stale, they just separate all the crew, and it was a very dramatic point for the story. But yeah, I think Arlong Park is a more concise arc. It has a better villain. It had and I don't know. It just felt like a really good, simple story to me, and that's why I love it so much. So yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
Kuma, your defense?
Now, you mentioned that Arlong is a great villain within the Arlong Park, but because of the Sabaody arc, actually makes him a little bit of a sympathetic character. Because you find, okay, why on earth he's actually, going, to Nami's island, actually taking over the place. Granted, the backstory with Nami and, her adoptive mother is sad, but within the Sabaody arc, it's even greater with Luffy losing his entire crew. And at this point, he doesn't even know if they're alive, dead, or wherever they are, to the point that these are the people he actually just met along the way. He made part of his family, and now they're just separated. And come on, throwing shade at Kizaru, who is even a better villain than Arlong, because granted, even though this is the second time we're actually seeing an admiral compared to Akiji, who was like, you know what, I'm not going to kill you, Shai, because, I have a debt with your grandfather, as opposed to not even killing Nico Robin. He just let her go because he had a relationship with Saul. Kizaru was like, no, he came down there and he had a mission. It was just to take care of freaking the Straw Hats, and he freaking took care of them.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
And now this is your closing. You have 2 minutes.
Okay. Um. Okay, Sabaody, and I see it as the beginning of the Marineford saga, right? So that's why I don't find it to be like the best arc in the whole series, because even if the end is really cool, it has a great twist at the end. It doesn't feel like like an arc with I don't know how to say, like it ends, and the other arc with Havoc, with Hancock, starts, and Amazon Lily, and I feel like Sabaody is a way to build up the future arcs. Not, and I think that's its greatest strength, not being an arc by itself. I'm not saying that Sabaody is bad. I'm just saying that it's an amazing arc, um, to build up for the Marineford world. And what I think Arlong is the climax of the East Blue Saga. It has a great build up. It has a great villain, great characters from beginning to end. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Good job. Reset. Kuma, 2 minutes.
Closing statement. Sabaody is a great arc. Again, it's good as Arlong Park, but it's a step up. As Oda showcases, introduction of even more characters, character building, not only with just the current character he's actually showing, but even future arcs, even referring back to previous arcs. Because if you want to like introduce like one piece, like what you're going to be expecting, Sabaody arc is pretty much it. We're not just focusing clearly on just like one story, but also bringing back what happened in the past, and also introducing like, more stuff to even like talk about in the greater future and greater schemes of it.
Okay. Reset. I will post minutes and go.
Okay, so my argument is that Katakuri is the best villain / antagonist in all of Shonen, and my reasons for it are the same reasons why I think One Piece is the best shonen of all time as well. Katakuri is introduced as an intimidating character. He's the main antagonist of Whole Cake Island, the one that Luffy fights. He's efficient, he's ruthless, that's what we see him as. At the wedding, he's just like, he does that thing where he intercepts Luffy from attacking Big Mom, even though that he knows Big Mom can handle Luffy. He, with his future sight and his advanced operation haki, he can see even then that Luffy is a threat. So he's not underestimating it. So he's very efficient, he's ruthless, and when we get to the Sunny, he has that famous line, just in case, as he's waiting in the Sunny, even though he's sure that Mama can deal with the Straw Hats, he doesn't want to let any chances. And that's where the conflict between Luffy and Katakuri arises. And going back to what I first said, Katakuri is this he's better than Luffy in every single way. He absolutely destroys him. Katakuri is one of the strongest characters in the series. He's the first commander of a Yonko crew. And yet, at the same time, we have this juxtaposition of this Katakuri who has social anxiety. He's worried about what his family and what other people thinks of him. And he's lazy, and he wants to lay on his back, and he wants to eat donuts and drink tea, and he likes his alone time, and he likes spending time with his family, and he's very protective of his family, and he's protective of his subordinates too. But he's still that efficient fighter who plays off Luffy in this interesting way, because Katakuri has this sense of honor where Luffy has no sense of honor at all. And we see throughout the fight with them how Katakuri first views Luffy as just a run-of-the-mill pirate who should bend the knee to Big Mom. But then he sees Luffy getting up again and again, and he wishes that he could do that, because he views even being knocked down as a shame. And he cannot understand why Luffy, who he sees is taking all this shame, getting up again and again to fight him, who is the clearly superior fighter. But that's what Katakuri wants to be. He wants to be a person like Luffy. He wants to be able to just live his life and do his own thing and not have to worry about being held to the standard of perfection that his family and his crew hold him to. That's what we see throughout the entirety of the second half of Whole Cake Island. The last 40 chapters of Whole Cake Island.
Okay. DJ, you are all set to go. You have 5 minutes.
All right, now, when I was thinking about this, because I only had a day to prepare, really, I know it's more than you, I think. But anyway, when I've had this day to prepare, I was thinking, okay, I could go Aizen, I could go Yuha, I could go these major villains in the Shonen series, right? But then I thought to myself, why go with someone who's like world-breaking power? Why go with someone who is, I'm not even going to say that my choice is stronger than Katakuri at all. Katakuri wipes the floor of the person I chose. But that being said, the person who I'm going to argue for is the best shonen villain is Mr. 2, Bonclay. Because what you said before is that Katakuri is intimidating when he's first seen. I don't deny that at all. But Mr. 2 is not intimidating when you first see him. In fact, he seems so stupid because he's on their ship when you first see him, really. Or when you really first see him. When he's with everybody, you get to see more of him screen time, more of him in the chapter. He's cool. Alright? Now, that being said, he isn't the most intimidating villain, but he is a villain that has gone through amazing character development throughout the entire series. He saved Luffy 3 times. First time against Hina, second time against the Wolves and Impel Down, and then against Magellan and Impel Down the second time. And after that, he breaks free from being captured. He attempts to save Miss Valentine. This is before Impel Down, from execution from Hina. And after Impel Down, after he somehow survives his fight against Magellan, he becomes the new queen of New Kama Land. He's amazing loyalty to his friends. And overall, even though he's not one of the strongest villains, he also caused an entire war with the country just by copying the king's face. That's my argument.
Okay. On your defense, you have 3 minutes, or rebuttal, 3 minutes.
So what I took from that is that you think Mr. 2's the best villain because of how we see his character develop through his relationship with the Straw Hats and what he learns from Luffy throughout the course of his time in Alabasta and Impel Down. I would say that Katakuri's character development matches the growth of Mr. 2. I do agree that Mr. 2 has one of the best character development in all of One Piece, but I'd say that Katakuri matches that from what I said earlier, because the whole thing about Katakuri is his, we see in the flashback that Katakuri started out as this like naive child who just liked hanging out with his friends and his family, but then we see once his sister Brule gets hurt, he doesn't understand why someone would pick on Brule when they had beef with him. So he covers up his face because he's ashamed that his sister got hurt because of it, and he goes out and kills the people who Brule. And then ever since then, he's held himself to this impossible standard of perfection. The whole thing is that he's never lost a fight, and his back has never touched the floor ever. And that's where we begin Whole Cake Island, with the Katakuri and the crew holding himself to this impossible perfection. And then we start out the fight with Katakuri kind of projecting himself onto Luffy, because Luffy's fruit is a weaker Luffy's fruit and personality and Hawk and everything is just a weaker version of Katakuri's. So he projects himself onto Luffy and is like, oh, this is what I would be if I wasn't a part of this crew, man. This guy's so weak. Like, this is why I have to be perfection. But then he, like what I said earlier, he keeps on seeing Luffy gets up. And then when he uses his awakening to try and crush Luffy under that huge mochi, He's like, oh, well, I've won. I'm going to go take my merienda now. And then, he's exposed for the layabout glutton that he is. And he rages out on the chefs who saw him, and he goes up against that fight to Luffy. We see throughout the fight that Katakuri knows that that Luffy should be held to the. He doesn't understand why Luffy isn't holding himself to the same standard that Katakuri holds himself to. But that's because Luffy has his crew. He has his family. So he knows that he has something to fight for and fall back on. And even if he fails, he knows that there are always exceptions. Accept him as part of their family. So what Luffy's fighting for is what's stronger than Katakuri's fighting for.
You have reached the 3-minute mark. I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
DJ, your defense. 3 minutes.
How long? 3 minutes? Okay. Give me 1 second, please.
That's right. You better say please.
All right. So you're saying that when we see him, he's just a little naive kid, and yes, we see his character development throughout his childhood up until now. However, all we see from Mr. 2 is just really a span of a couple of months, and he's had this much character development. Well, it took Katakuri years to really develop this. He started doubting himself, and then finally began to change a little bit. But, well, there is no but there. That was the end of the sentence. Sorry. And the only other thing that I'd like to point out, and I don't know, is that Katakuri, last time I checked, Katakuri does not have a pair of shoes that has a male swan and a female swan. And last time I checked, Katakuri can't just stealth into anybody. If Mr. 2 wanted to, he could become Big Mom and just tell Katakuri to go kill himself. And Katakuri, if he doesn't, he would be kind of spooked because, Big Mom's soul flower. And that being said, Mr. 2 can turn into anybody at any time and trick them, as we've seen with Magellan, as we've seen with Cobra, and has great influence over it.
That's it? Okay. You're closing, Eon.
Okay. So in closing, Katakuri is the best villain in One Piece, and One Piece is the best shonen. So he's the best shonen villain because of the character development we see throughout his fight with Luffy, what the insights we see into his character, which I think exceeds every other villain in One Piece. You never get anything like that with Lucci, Eneru, Doflamingo, and Buggy, whatever you want.
Crocodile too.
Crocodile, yes. We can see all of that. Katakuri is head and shoulders above the rest, and I think every other on the same tier as someone, let's say Meruem or I don't know, fucking Sinbad from Magi. I'd say Katakuri stands in that tier because of the way we see him change and grow, and as we learn about him at the same time that Luffy learns about him and what we see throughout the fight in the mirror.
That's it? Okay.